Welcome back, everyone. We're looking ahead to the legislative session set to begin this coming Monday, February 5th. The state chamber is keeping a close eye on many items on the agenda, including, of course, workforce, economic development, childcare, education. Joining us live now, CEO and president of the state chamber, Chad Warmington. Chad, good morning, and thank you so much for being here.
You bet. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. Let's just quickly touch on this right now. We know we're in a special session. Governor Stitt called for tax cuts. We're not expecting anything to pass this week because the Senate wants to wait until the normal session. Where does the chamber stand on tax cuts, and what are you looking at?
Well, we are always going to be pro-tax reform, and the legislature deserves a lot of credit over the last couple of years. They've done some really good tax reform measures. They've eliminated the franchise tax. They eliminated the marriage penalty. They've increased the ability to deduct capital expenditures off your taxes if you're a business. So they've done some really good things that have moved us from 30th to 19th in terms of an Oklahoma overall economic competitiveness. And so they think we've done really good stuff. I don't know if necessarily we need another tax cut on top of that. That's up for them to decide. But there's some things that they could do in the interim. Again, more reform that would be better for Oklahomans.
Okay, so that we know that the chamber is really looking at some pro-growth legislation really for this right now. Are there any items on the agenda that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, workforce remains at the top of the agenda for us in really a couple different specific areas. One, we really want to focus on helping kids get more career ready. The focus is always on every kid needs to be ready for college, and that's a very noble goal. But what we don't want to make sure is that we're not leaving kids behind that are on a career track. And so what we're working with is schools, superintendents from around the state, trying to make sure they have flexibility to get kids career, college, or military ready. Those are all successful outcomes, and we really want to have schools have that as the top of their priority. The other thing in terms of workforce that we could do to help address the workforce challenge is daycare. Oklahoma has lost 1,000 daycares, almost 25% of the daycares we have over the last 10 years. What can we do to help businesses create daycare opportunities either on their site or invest in a local daycare that provides daycare not only for their workers, but for the community? You can't have the workforce you want if you don't have that workforce infrastructure supporting moms and dads who want to be in the workforce but can't find childcare.
Right, and I do want to touch on each one of those topics individually, but before we do, just a quick outlook here that the chamber has on economic growth in this state. Where does Oklahoma stand? How are we looking?
We're looking pretty good, and we're very attractive to a lot of areas of the country right now. Oklahoma has net immigration for the first time in a long time. What we also want to do, and we'll be working on this legislation, particularly Senator Kristen Thompson, is how do we modernize how we do economic development? How do we recruit and retain? And I think retain is a big important word. We have a lot of good businesses that are here that would like to grow. How do we help them grow? We want to modernize how Oklahoma does that. Maybe not as taking as big a home run swings as we have, and trying to hit some more ground balls with companies that are here, help them grow from 200 to 300 or 400 workers. Those are big wins as well, and we want the state to be focused on those.
And back to education now, as we talk about getting students career ready. There was one House bill I know in particular that you addressed recently. That's House Bill 3278, right? This is looking to address graduation requirements. Just give us a brief overview of what that is and what the goal is.
Yeah, real quickly, we spent about a year talking to school superintendents about how do you get more flexibility for you to have the ability to get kids career ready as well. So not every kid's on a college track, and there's some great opportunities through Career Tech or through private vocational schools, through trade unions. How do we make sure that those kids are ready when they leave 12th grade to enter their career workforce? And so making sure that we're adjusting graduation requirements that allow schools the flexibility to do that. And so Rhonda Baker's been a champion on this issue. We've got some great superintendents who have been working with us to try to help us better understand how that school system works.
And then we touched briefly also on childcare there. What is the chamber looking at in particular here when it comes to legislation to get parents back into the workforce for those who do want to get back to work?
You bet. We've been working with Representative Suzanne Schreiber from Tulsa, and she's working on an employer tax credit. Essentially what we want to do is incentivize a business that says, hey, we know we need more child care in our area, so we're willing to invest in either on-site daycare for our workers and then potentially have that be open up to other workers in the community. Or if there's a business or a daycare that could use some help, it can be expanded or grown in a more significant capacity. If the business would invest in that, we'd give them a tax credit for that. The whole goal is create more child care opportunities for the workforce that we need so that those moms and dads have an opportunity to get back into the workforce and know that their child is in a good place.
Okay, and then before we go, anything that Oklahomans need to know right now before we begin the regular session, big items that you're looking out for that we didn't address today and what they need to be aware of?
I think there's a couple things. I mean, we talked a little bit about tax reform, and I think what we would like to see the legislature focus on is a couple things. One, Oklahoma has 6 income tax brackets. We'd like to see that collapse to 1, and then we'd like to see the standard deduction raised. And by doing that, what you do is if you do a tax cut, now it applies equally across the board. It's better policy for Oklahoma. And there's some other things that we could do. There's a lot of talk about grocery tax. Well, Oklahoma also has a grocery tax exemption. We'd like to see that tripled so the people that really need relief from grocery tax could see that relief, and the legislature can do it in a manner that's more appropriate. Frankly, there's a lot of folks that don't need that grocery tax exemption, or don't need a grocery tax cut. The exemption does a good job of targeting people that do. We could triple that. It's already on the books. It's just an expansion of what we already have. Those are the kind of things in the tax space we'd like to see considered.
Okay, well, a lot to look out for here as the session begins. Chad, we thank you so much for coming in and keep us updated on some of the work that is happening out there on the Capitol.
Will do.
All right.